Hello.
I call this Altoona City Council meeting to order Wednesday, September 9th at 7 p.m. We'll now have a moment of silent prayer. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America,
Flag of the United States of America,
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Linda, would you call the roll, please?
Vice Mayor Butterbaugh.
Here.
Councilman Kashadi. Councilman Kashadi.
Here. Here.
Councilman Carper.
Here.
Councilman Ickes.
Here.
Councilwoman Jordan is absent. Councilman Kelly.
Here.
Mayor Pacifico.
Here. We have a few presentations on the agenda tonight, and we have joining us on the phone is Dawn Morden from the Brian Morden Foundation. Is Dawn there, Kim?
Dawn, can you say hello?
Hi, everyone. This is Dawn Morden from the Brian Morden Foundation.
Hi, Dawn. At this time, I'm going to read the proclamation now because September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And Dawn is joining us virtually because she can't be here in person. So whereas September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month throughout the nation, and we recognize the courage of the children who have battled or are currently battling cancer with special recognition to all of the survivors. And whereas over the past 20 years, all types of childhood cancer have increased in children and adolescents, affects all ethnic, gender, and socioeconomic groups, is considered to be the #1 disease threatening our children, affects 250,000 plus new diagnosed children worldwide as they undergo treatment each year, and the impact of the diagnosis produces multiple challenges for a family. Unfortunately, childhood cancer research is vastly and consistently underfunded, with only 4% of federal government cancer research funding going to childhood cancer research. And whereas the statistics hit home with more than 30 students from the Altoona Area School District diagnosed with cancer in the past 17 years. And whereas 4 of those Altoona Area High School students were Emma Ocker, Kiera Sheridan, Aaron Dodson, and Katie Mills, who lost their courageous battles with cancer, as well as 4-year-old Amelia Scherer, who lost her battle on March 13th, 2019. And whereas another one of the Altoona Area High School students was Brian Morden, who inspired the creation of the Brian Morden Foundation after he lost his battle with cancer on February 15th, 2003. And whereas the Brian Morden Foundation has embraced the issue of childhood cancer with collaboration between many local organizations, including the Altoona Area School District, who have helped to ease the burden for our AASD students and their families, as well as numerous children and their families at the children's hospitals in Pittsburgh, Hershey, Geisinger, and Philadelphia. Now therefore, I, Matthew Pacifico, Mayor of the City of Altoona, Pennsylvania, do hereby proclaim September 2020 as National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Altoona, and encourage all citizens, government agencies, private businesses, nonprofit organizations, and other groups to join in activities that will increase awareness and prevention of childhood cancer, and in recognition of the gold ribbon as the symbol of childhood cancer, I do hereby proclaim Friday, September 25th, 2020 as Gold Ribbon Day in the City of Altoona in honor and memory of all childhood cancer warriors. The gold ribbon serves as hope that together we can reach the day when every child with cancer is guaranteed a cure. And Dawn, if you would like to say a few words now, you can go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pacifico. I really, really appreciate that. I think you and City Council are heroes. Every year you make a proclamation for National Childhood Cancer Awareness Month and Gold Ribbon Day in Altoona. And along with the Altoona School District, you help the Brian Morton Foundation educate the public about this horrendous disease. I'm sure everyone would agree that there are some crazy times going on right now, and I think maybe some people might have a new appreciation for our kids who face uncertainty, challenges, and risks daily and have always had to wear masks, especially when their immune system has been weakened after chemotherapy treatment. Unfortunately, they're going to have to continue this long after COVID-19 is gone, and we will need to keep fighting for a cure, unfortunately. I just have an update on our local children. Many are doing very well, and for that we're grateful. However, several other young people have been diagnosed since last September when I was with you guys in person. Brooklyn, Addie, Colton, Wyatt, and Jaden. And Addison's, Kaylee's, and Ava's cancers have recurred or come back, so they are fighting again. I know all of these children and their families would appreciate your thoughts and prayers. Addison and Kaylee seem to be doing well, but Ava is in the middle of her battle right now. If other community members would like to help in or learn more, they can visit the displays at the Altoona Public Library this month. There's a wonderful art exhibit on the bottom level of the library with artwork from our children battling cancer and or their family members, as well as some pieces by local professional artists and a few works by young people who attended Arts Altoona's street events in August. We also have a display at the Central Pennsylvania Community Foundation downtown with several of our superheroes. You really can't miss them if you're walking down 11th Avenue. For those who like to walk, run, or cycle, they could join the BMF team of Alex's Million Mile. And people might want to wear one of our new Be a Hero t-shirts while you're out and about. We are also sponsoring a gold ribbon scavenger hunt. Locations all over Altoona are displaying a gold ribbon decal. There will be prizes for those who can find the most. You just need to submit your list to us at the end of September. I know that's a lot. If you didn't get all of it, please visit our website at brianmortonfoundation.org or .com. We are transitioning to a new website with the help of one of our former scholarship winners, Paul Casserly. And finally, I just wanted to express my thanks on behalf of the Brian Morton Foundation to a number of local businesses and organizations who have already made donations this month so that we can continue supporting our kids. The Brian Morton Foundation is giving more than $2,500 just this September to local children battling cancer to help them with transportation to and from treatment. So all support makes a difference. So we thank you again for everything that you do, and I appreciate this time.
Thank you, Dawn.
Take care, everybody. Bye.
God bless you, young lady.
Thanks.
This month, we also presented proclamations to Skills of Central PA for Direct Support Professional Recognition Week, the week of September 13th to the 19th. And we presented one to Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church for their 147th anniversary celebration on Sunday, September 20th. And we will now go into the second presentation, which is the 2021 MMO certification by Omar Strom, Finance Director. Omar.
Thank you, Mayor, council members. I'd like to take a few minutes to present the 2021 Minimum Municipal Obligation certification, which is in the form of a worksheet that was provided to all council members. This really certifies the amount of the city's MMO, Minimum Municipal Obligation, for the upcoming year. These amounts will appear in the 2021 city budget. This has to be certified to City Council. That doesn't require any action whatsoever. on the part of council, just the fact that this is presented to you, and these amounts must be contributed to the appropriate pension plans by the end of 2021. If everybody can take a look at the worksheet that you were given, you can see that there's 9 items listed here. The annual payroll, total estimate for 2020, normal cost as a percentage of payroll, that's roughly the city's contribution or city's part of the actual pension amount. That comes from the 2019 actuarial valuation reports. Actuarial valuation reports are conducted for all 3 of the city's pension plans on a biennial basis. The 2020 MMOs were produced using the 2017 actuarial valuation reports. Again, they're done biannually, so we would expect that those reports would be used to produce the MMOs for the 2022 budget as well. So looking at line number 3, that's really just item number 1 times number 2. You have an amortization amount listed for each pension plan. Again, that comes from the 2019 actuarial valuation reports for each plan. We have an estimated administrative expense for each plan listed in number 5. The total 2021 financial requirements, which is really the cumulative amount for items 3, 4, and 5 are listed there for each plan under number 6. Each estimated employee contributions, that's derived by the number of employees and the amounts of the payroll, 5% of earnings, generally speaking, for each plan contributed by employees. There's a funding adjustment amount listed, a space for it. None of these plans have a funding adjustment amount. And you can see the bottom line there on number 9, the 2021 minimum municipal obligation for each plan is listed there. The cumulative amount for 2021 is $5,412,939. I should point out that that's an increase of about a decrease of about $282,000 from 2020's minimum municipal obligation, and is really the lowest amount cumulatively that the city will be paying since at least 2016. So any questions you might have, I'll try to answer them for you.
Thank you, Omar. Okay, moving along. We had an executive session after our meeting on August 31st, and tonight we will be. Oh, and I'm sorry. The purpose of that was personnel. I guess, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it was personnel.
Okay. And tonight we'll be introducing a resolution that Linda will now read.
This will become item H on the agenda. It's approving the appointment of Thomas P. Finn, Esquire, as city solicitor for the city of Altoona, and authorizing a contract with Wagner and Finn Attorneys at Law, P.C. of 153 Lakemont Park Boulevard, Altoona, PA, with the terms of the contract to be negotiated by City Manager Ken Decker.
Thank you. And at this time, we will open the floor for public comment. We ask that you please keep your comments to under 5 minutes, and please state your name and address for the record. And I believe we already have people on the line tonight, correct?
Yes, the first caller we have is Cheryl Johns. Cheryl, can you hear me?
Yes, Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead. State your name and your address.
Cheryl Johns, Altoona Housing Authority, 2700 Pleasant Valley Boulevard, Altoona.
Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Matt Pacifico. Thank you for this opportunity to speak, and I will make it brief. I wanted to go on record and say with the recent elimination of Director Lee Slusser from the Planning Department, I wanted to express my gratitude and appreciation towards Lee personally for the working relationship we have had through the years with several projects. In my 20-plus years with the Altoona Housing Authority, I've worked closely with the Planning Department, especially Mary Johnson, Carl Fisher, and Jim Truxler, in various CDBG and home funding projects, along with providing input into the city's comprehensive plan and 5-year plan. The authority and community development share a common goal to expand and rehabilitate housing stock to ensure the safety and security of those citizens in the city of Altoona. It is my hope that we will continue to have that relationship with the Community Development Department without the elimination of positions in that department to continue to provide economic improvements to low and moderate income families. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Cheryl. The next caller I have is Robert David Mooney. Robert, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, I can.
State your name and
Yes,
your
ma'am.
address, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Robert David Mooney, Mooney. I reside at 4039 Fifth Avenue, Altoona, Pennsylvania, 16602.
Okay, go ahead.
Good evening. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. First of all, I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak with you all tonight, Mayor Pacifico and the council. I'm going to speak briefly, and there was one thing I just wanted to bring to y'all's attention, and the only topic of concern will be the rumor control of Altoona City Police Department being shorted officers, the working conditions of the women and men of Altoona Police Department, the lack of vacation time, sick leave, law enforcement field is extremely stressful. It's just not the officer. The entire family feels the grind all too often. The absolute crazy hours of work, not just the 8 to 5 grind. Place yourself and others, please place yourself and others in their shoes. Now, imagine this. Imagine first placing on a bulletproof vest. Now remember, bulletproof vests normally stop handgun rounds. But in order to stop rifle rounds, it's got to be a heavier plate, heavier material. And imagine wearing that 10 or 12 hours a day, okay? I just think it's so important that we, be mindful that the officers should always be in a good mood, always, and they're always helpful to us. And remember, they hear this all the time, we pay your salary. Of course, here in Altoona, PA, it's really bare minimum. They strive and protect, always under a microscope every day. Armchair quarterbacks, armchair quarterbacks provide 2 cents into their lives, causing more and more pressure on the officers. I just want you to think for a minute right now, people. We are in crazy times, as stated earlier in the meeting. Officer suicide rates are up, domestic pressures is high, divorce rate is high, self-medication, alcohol is up with the police officers. And officers do not get a do-over. They wear that badge 24/7 all year long. So, I'm simply requesting this council to support your dedicated officers for all, and for all have made high sacrifices. Their years to hone their skills, forever changing, to live it, breathe it, devote life to our community and to God. And the least we could do is support them. Do not cut officers. I suggest we hire at least 10, and I repeat, 10 officers. It is absolutely ridiculous, and this is rumor control only. Do you realize you only have one narcotics officer? One narcotics officer? And this town is what, 45,000? Meth is out of control. Heroin is with us. The pills, we're not going to go with the pot stuff. But anyway, people, if we can build a multi-million-dollar high school and junior high, surely we can support all our officers. I understand this will require further time and further discussion and investigation. Keep Altoona strong. Don't turn into a fallen city. So I'm simply requesting that we support the officers and make their high sacrifice year in and year out. And I simply ask that we keep them all in prayer. And remember, blessed are the peacemakers. And thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Thank you,
Thank
Ms. Mooney.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, we have one final caller. If you would state your name and address, please.
My name is Lawrence Carter at 1105 Broadway.
Go ahead, Lawrence. Go ahead and speak.
Did we
My
lose
name
Larry?
is Lawrence Carter.
Go ahead, Larry. We hear you.
Okay. I'm the retired director of the Altoona Planning and Community Development Department. I have 38 years of experience in public administration, with 21 of those years managing the community development block grant funds. My concern is that the reassignment of the block grant responsibilities to untrained city staff will jeopardize the federal allocation of funds to Altoona. The feds set up separate rules under 24 CFR. The categories for eligible projects and the financial management for the projects is the responsibility of the feds. The role of Altoona is providing the staff, selecting the eligible activities, and administering the projects under federal accounting regulations. The eligible projects must be designed to provide low and moderate income benefit to low and moderate income persons, the prevention of and aid in the prevention of slum and blight. There is no cost to the city for administering or funding the block grant program. The city operates. The problem with the program is the city operates with a January to December fiscal year. CDBG operates with a July 1 to June 30 fiscal year. The city operates on an accrual accounting system, and CDBG is a cash accounting system. The city financial department is not familiar with managing the different fiscal years and complete the cash accounting pre-approval fund transfers for CDBG. The annual expenditure rate is set by regulations. Not meeting the expenditure rate will result in fund allocations being permanently reduced, or not conducting the fast-moving cash record keeping could bring a loss of funds. The city has an annual allocation of funds of about $1.7 million with 3 years currently in hand. There are about 30 activities currently for each program year. Each project has its own cash budget. Each project must use all the money in that cash budget and can transfer money forward but not backward in the active years. Each project budget change must have an amendment filed and approved by HUD, not the city financial office. 30% of the funds have to go to low and moderate income people, 30% to remove Swim and Blade, and 70% to low and moderate income people. Altoona recently prepared, it just showed on the screen today, a 5-year consolidated plan filed with HUD addressing the eligible activities and how they will be funded. Past CDBG projects include the CDBG paid for all the hardware, software, and some staff time for computerizing the entire city. CDBG paid for removing slum and bite removal program, averaging about 22 houses annually. The redevelopment authority must approve those projects before they can legally proceed. CDBG paid for sidewalk construction after a door-to-door income survey determined that 51% of the people served were low and moderate income. The homeowner rehab project provides rehabilitative housing for low and moderate income families. The project served the elderly and infirm by improving their homes to local code standards. When the residents pass or the property is sold, the lien on the property is enforced. Potential outcomes. The Planning and Community Development Department has been administering this program since inception decades ago. Dispersing the project administration to city departments and personnel with no experience with the CDBG program complexities and not meeting the transfer and fund amendment requirements will jeopardize the program funding. I anticipate the erosion of this multi-million-dollar grant program and the city being forced to repay HUD, and they will do that, and or have its funds reduced due to mismanagement under the federal guidelines. Now, you don't have to take my word for this. I suggest to check the accuracy of my testimony. You get the HUD office in Pittsburgh, PA, to attend a council meeting or a work session and explain the program. Thank you for this opportunity. And if you didn't hear it, it's all in writing. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you. Is there any more?
That's all the
comment?
callers we have.
Thank you. We'll move on to the resolutions. Linda?
Item A is approving the minutes of the Altoona City Council meeting held Wednesday, August 12th, 2020. Item B is awarding the 39th Street Drainage Improvements Project to Geyer Brothers of New Enterprise in the amount of $375,275 payable from the capital budget, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item C is awarding the 2020 tree project at Henry Enterprises of Hollidaysburg in the amount of $35,760 payable from the general fund tree maintenance, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents and the city clerk to attest to same. Item D is approving the submission of a grant application to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania for a multimodal transportation fund grant in the amount of $1,696,750 for the Altoona Transportation Center Improvement Project, and further authorizing the city manager to execute all documents associated with the grant application, and for the city clerk to attest to same as needed. Item E is rejecting a repository bid submitted by Michael Kelly of 2907 Broad Avenue for property located at 1530 2nd Street, Altoona, and further authorizing the city manager to execute the taxing district form. Item F is appointing Norman Young of 3406 Oneida Avenue to the Altoona Housing Authority to fill the unexpired term of Scott Brown. Said term shall expire the first Monday of January 2025. Item G is amending the 2019 CDBG program, changing the current project description of the Altoona Blair County Development Corporation Economic Recovery Program, COVID-19, from allocating loans and grants to allocating grants only, with the premise of job creation and/or job retention and working capital up to $9,000 for any one business in the Altoona area. And then item H is approving the appointment of Thomas P. Finn Esquire as city solicitor for the city of Altoona and authorizing a contract with Wagner and Finn Attorneys at Law PC of 153 Lakemont Park Boulevard, Altoona, with the terms of the contract to be negotiated by the city manager, Ken Decker. Are there any additions or deletions or anything that needs to be pulled for separate vote? Hearing none, I will call for the consent vote. Vice Mayor Butterbaugh.
Yes.
Councilman Kashadi.
Yes.
Councilman Carper.
Yes.
Councilman Ickes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jordan is absent. Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
The vote passes 6-0. We have an ordinance for introduction, actually two ordinances for introduction. The first ordinance is amending the code of the city of Altoona to amend chapter 314 entitled Electricians, to amend the composition of the Electrical Examiners Board to establish an Electrical and Plumbing Examiners Board, amend the qualifications for Master Electrician and Journeyman certificates, amend the application for certificates, increase the amount of property damage and personal liability insurance, change the location for payment of certificates, reaffirm Chapter 314 as amended, provide severability and repeal provisions, and provide an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
This ordinance was introduced by Vice Mayor Butterbaugh. The second ordinance for introduction is an ordinance amending the code of the city of Altoona to amend Chapter 542 entitled Plumbers, to amend the composition of the Plumbing Board, to establish an Electrical and Plumbing Examiners Board, amend the qualifications for Master Plumber and Journeyman certificates, reaffirm Chapter 542 as amended, provide severability and repeal provisions, and provide an effective date. Is there a council member willing to introduce this ordinance?
So moved.
This ordinance was introduced by by Councilman Carper. We have a third ordinance for adoption, which was introduced by Vice Mayor Butterbaugh, and it's an ordinance of the city of Altoona amending the code of the city of Altoona to revise Chapter 405 entitled Lease and/or Conveyance of City-Owned Lands, to add a new section 405-2C to authorize the execution of an agreement of sale pursuant to Section 295-8C of the City of Altoona Code of Ordinances for conveyance of the following city-owned strip of land to Sean McGeary and Julia McGeary, based upon appraisal by Richard Johnston, for the amount of $1,100 plus payment of all costs associated with the transaction. An irregular shaped lot, I just lost my place, 9.97 feet by 127.5 feet by 41.96 feet by 51.30 feet by the arc of a curve to the left, with an arc distance of 136.85 feet, strip of land located off of 44th Street and Lindale Road, where the same abuts with lands now or formerly of Sean McGeary and Julia McGeary in the city of Altoona, Blair County, Pennsylvania. Repeal all other ordinances or parts thereof in conflict therewith, provide severability of provisions, and provide an effective date. Is there a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Second. This ordinance was moved for adoption by Vice Mayor Butterbaugh and seconded by Mayor Pacifico, and I will call the roll for a vote. Vice Mayor Butterbaugh.
Yes.
Councilman Kashadi.
Yes.
Councilman Carper.
Yes.
Councilman Ickes.
Yes.
Councilwoman Jordan is absent. Councilman Kelly.
Yes.
And Mayor Pacifico.
Yes.
The vote passes 6-0.
City manager updates. Ken?
Well, first, let me be among the first to welcome our new solicitor, Tom Finn. Appreciate him jumping to work immediately on some stuff. We've already pushed some things his direction. Certainly would be remiss not to thank Dan Stans for his service to the city. He did yeoman duty and was always very responsive. Thought the process was good. Certainly we had a real depth of talent in terms of the attorneys who expressed interest, came away very impressed with some of our attorneys from the local bar and their commitment, and certainly was pleased that a number of them said if there's anything they can do to help moving forward in any capacity, one-off projects, they'd certainly be willing to work with us. So I think certainly process ended well, and congratulations and welcome on board.
Thank you very much. I look forward to working with the entire council as well as City Manager Decker. Thank you.
Thanks to council for approving us to authorize the multimodal grant application. I know that $1.7 million price tag took my breath away when I saw it, but apparently there's more work to be done at the transportation center than we saw at first glance. Please be advised that this is a DCED, not a PennDOT grant. We could do a no match application. I think after internal discussion, we think a 10% match increases our possibility of getting funded, and given the situation there, that's a less expensive option than the 30% PennDOT match, and the scope of the project has certainly grown on that. But we're tracking to be able to submit that grant application in a timely fashion. So appreciate all the staff work that's gone into that. 39th Street, also thank you for approving that. The bids came in. I think the bids were favorable, but we're going to make every effort and hope for good weather to be able to punch that project out by the end of the year. We've tried to step our communication with the residents there to try to be proactive in terms of letting them know what the process is. So that'll be a nice project to be able to look back and be done. We're starting to compile the work session agenda for the end of September. So if you have anything, please send it my way. We do have some interesting things kind of popping up on the work session agenda. Containers versus bags, which is, I know we've already had members of the council weigh in on both of those. So I think we have some fairly substantive topics to address as well. I've copied you on some of the interactions I've had with the county. There's been some interest in a consolidated tax bill. I think that's something that we have to do an RFP for. We currently have Berkheimer as our tax collection agency for the next 2 years. Normally, about 6 months to a year out, we'd start putting together an RFP to select a new vendor competitively. So since the school district is involved, we're planning a meeting towards the end of the month to have all of the people who are involved in tax collection sit down and kind of see if there's some common ground that we can achieve there. We haven't heard from Atlantic Broadband yet, but they did promise to get back to us after Labor Day. We're going to follow up on the customer service center issue and stay diligent on that, try to stay on top of doing what we can to ensure they comply with what we think the franchise agreement says. That's certainly something Attorney Finn can jump on with both feet. We're getting relatively close on the budget, so I'll be talking to Kim about trying to set up some small group individual meetings with members of council and the mayor to sort of walk through where we are in terms of what the numbers look like right now and what are some of the moving parts that we're trying to balance in terms of getting everything to work on the budget. So I know Councilman Butterbaugh spoke with the media today regarding that. I received a call from WTAJ as well, but yeah, I guess my position is I really want to be able to brief you on some of the details of the budget before we engage in a more public discussion about that. Certainly there'll be ample opportunity, and it's only September, so we still have some ground to cover before the budget has to be adopted. But I think we're overall, in terms of where we are and what we've been able to achieve, at least on paper, I think we're tracking to be able to deliver a budget that meets your direction of not increasing taxes. Any questions for me about any of our pending projects or other things going on?
No, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. We'll move on to the mayor and council discussion items. Councilman Carper.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to congratulate Attorney Finn on your appointment tonight, and thank you for your willingness to serve in this capacity, and thank all of the applicants who applied for the position. And again, one final thank you for Dan Stans for your service to the city.
Councilman Kelly,
Mayor, I have nothing to offer at this time, thank you.
Councilman Butterball.
Yeah, I echo the comments of Councilman Carper. That was one of the toughest decisions in a way in my 10 years here when it came to choosing, helping to choose what attorney, because we had such great applicants, and you could tell right after the interviews the winner was going to automatically be the people of Altoona. And so congratulations, Attorney Finn, and I look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
And I did want to mention about the electrical and plumbing ordinances that we introduced tonight. I thought that really was the way government should work. We really worked together with a lot of people. Staff did an excellent job with this, Rebecca and her department. The electrical guys, the plumbing guys, we had that meeting over in Juniata, and a lot of folks showed up. We got a lot of good input. And that's the way government's supposed to be done, and working together and trying to do the right thing as best as possible, and that's not easy to do at the municipal level, so thanks to all involved for that also.
Councilman Kashotti.
Just wanted to say thank you to Attorney Stantz for your service to the city. Also, just congratulate Attorney Finn. Looking forward to working with you. That's all. Thank you.
Councilman Eckes.
Well, Tom, I think we've set the bar pretty high in giving you praises, so this might be the the highest level so far. But welcome. We look forward to working with you.
I appreciate it, and I intend to work very hard to meet those standards.
Thank you. Just wanted to say, I think I've attended as a citizen in the past, but as the September presentation through the Brian Morden Foundation, really appreciate the work that they do for children not only in our community but even expanding, and just really appreciate their involvement and their dedication and commitment to a well-worthy cause, and something families have to go through as challenging as that. I can't begin to imagine. So God bless them and their work. Friday marks another anniversary for September 11th. Please take time to remember all those that lost their lives, lost loved ones, and our first responders that did all they could that day to be there for our fellow men and women of America. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions from the media?
Thank you. I'm thinking Ken would be the best person to talk about this, but could you explain the plans for the planning or the community development office that Larry Carter and Cheryl Johns were referring to?
Well, I really don't know what they're referring to, except that there's speculation about what's going to happen with the department. I mean, the only thing that's public now is that the director position, which Lee Slusser occupied, we could not find room in the 2021 budget to fund that. So in terms of how the department's going to be reorganized, I think that's something that's going to unfold as we talk to the mayor and council about the budget.
Would you care to say, to address Larry Carter's concerns directly, that he thinks it's going to erode the compliance with the rules of CDBG money?
Well, all I can say, Bill, is I've worked with CDBG since the 90s myself, so I'm familiar with the federal rules. We've already reached out and had conversations with HUD in Pittsburgh, which is our field office, about the transition. All of the people that have done the work historically are still doing the work. That's not changing at the moment. And we certainly wouldn't change anything precipitously that would put us in a situation where we couldn't comply with federal regulations. Although I will say, just as a general rule, I think most federal regulations are silly and burdensome, and so, but we understand that no matter how any of us feel about them, we have to comply with them. So I'm completely confident the people that we have on board are going to continue doing the yeoman duty that they've done for years, and that if we have transitions, we'll handle them appropriately.
Can you say how much eliminating the position, Lee's position, will save?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, it's a director level position, so obviously it's fairly well means at the higher end of the salary scale, but, you know, without having the budget in front of me, I couldn't tell you exactly what that savings would be, but, you know, as the council has talked about, when you're $1 million short, you need every nickel you can find.
Can somebody, maybe give me an update on the Christy Jordan situation?
That wouldn't be me. I haven't heard from Councilwoman Jordan, so.
Cue the awkward silence.
Is she still technically on council?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so.
So not technically, I mean legally,
Right.
she's a legally elected member of the council unless removed by the governor of the state, according to my understanding of the law.
So the 30-day clock hasn't started yet because.
No. Bill, have you spoken to her?
I have not.
Perhaps you should reach out to her then if you have questions about her status, and because she hasn't notified any of us, so perhaps she'd respond to you.
You're pretty charming.
Yeah, rather than us comment. I mean, it's a personal situation. I think it's better to ask her directly rather than ask us.
Right, yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's not
I
our.
think I
Yeah.
did leave a message for her at one point, but,
Yeah.
The pension, the MMO, subject, I guess, are all three pensions still defined benefit for all employees, including newer ones?
All employees are, I mean, we have 3 different pension plans: fire, police, and non-uniform.
Right.
So all employees, except for I think me, are, or maybe a temporary seasonal employee, are eligible for one of those 3 pension systems.
Okay, and they're all, even for the newer people, that's still defined benefit as opposed to,
Yes.
okay,
Yeah, I mean, it's still a pension where you have years of service and then receive a monthly check in retirement based on the formula and your qualifying years of service.
right. And is this, maybe this is getting to the weeds, but is that still a requirement? Basically a legal requirement that be the case, that every employee of the city gets a defined benefit pension?
Well, for the employees who've collectively bargained that benefit, we're legally obligated to provide it. Anyone who has that benefit vested cannot have that benefit legally removed. I
Right,
mean,
yeah.
they're entitled to it. So, in terms of, you know, I know that there have been jurisdictions, perhaps not Pennsylvania, that have moved to a defined contribution
Right.
plan versus defined benefit. And I don't know that Pennsylvania law requires municipal governments to provide a defined benefit plan. I think there's, you know, probably for some of the smaller townships or boroughs, maybe not a requirement, but I think it's the benefit that the city's chosen to offer, and for those represented employees, we have to offer it.
Okay, 'cause I may be mistaken, and maybe Tom can correct me if I am. I thought the third-class city code, when it was the law of Altoona, required that, at least for public safety employees, that they be given a defined benefit plan?
Well, public safety employees as well, you're talking a lot of the collectively bargained groups as well, when you're talking public safety, police, fire,
Right.
you know, so, and those are part of the collective bargaining process.
Right, but my impression was that regardless, setting aside collective bargaining, that for police and fire in a third-class city, there's an obligation for the city to provide defined benefit pension, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
He's asking if it's in the third-class city code, which I don't believe it is. I think it's just a matter of collective bargaining,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Oh, and another thing I may be mistaken about, didn't the city do an RFP for management of the pension
Yes.
programs? And what's the
Yes.
status of that?
We're about, well, hopefully a little over halfway. September 15th, the second round submissions are due. So we had, I think, 23 initial submissions. We've narrowed that number down considerably. Once we receive the next round of submissions on the 15th, the evaluation committee will meet. We'll narrow the list down to the finalists, and then we'll conduct, I guess, Zoom or Skype interviews with the finalists to try to come up with a single recommendation for the 3 pension boards to enter into that. But we're still hopeful that we have that done, let's say, before Thanksgiving.
Right, okay. next subject is Tom.
Ah.
Why choose Tom Finn
Okay.
among the 4 candidates? Or Finn and Wagner, I guess, is more properly.
All the candidates that we had were really strong candidates, and I think for me, I just felt I felt confident in his ability to represent the city well and to help us make decisions that are in the best interest of the city.
Is it a retainer? And is it a retainer for the firm as opposed to Tom as an individual?
Do you want me-
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as we submitted in our proposal, we were it was a retainer form. You know, I'm one of the partners at Wagner and Finn, so you know, the revenue goes through the firm, so it would be payable to Wagner and Finn. I am the point person solicitor for the city.
But the contract is with the firm, and you're
Correct.
You're kind of the
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
okay. Regarding the person who called and talked about police, how many police officers are currently employed, and how many are budgeted, I guess?
How many uniformed officers? Janice would know that off the top of her head. I think it's 66.
Yeah, 66 comes to mind. It's very close to that.
66 budgeted, or 66?
It's very close to that
Chief,
number.
can
We
you
we
come
can
out,
get you
please?
that number for
Paging
sure.
Janice.
Okay.
Paging Chief Freeling.
Oh, was she back there?
Uh-huh.
It's like the bullpen.
Oh, you have to use the microphone, I'm sorry.
Come down, you can use mine.
No, there's one right there.
Okay. Okay, currently, we are budgeted at 66, and we have 64. We have 2 vacancies.
Lucky guess.
But you have 64, you said?
64. Yes.
64, okay. And since the person who was on the phone referred to or alleged that there's a lack of personal time, I guess, vacation and sick days, that sort of thing, can you say how many sick days how many vacation and sick days people get generally?
You accrue 1 1/4 a month in sick time. Okay, so
1.25
15 a year.
days
Yes.
per month.
Yes. So that would be the 15 a year. Vacations vary depending on your length of service. It starts out with 2 weeks after your first year. There are 4 personal days a year, and we have 12 holidays.
What's the maximum vacation, do you know?
5 weeks.
Okay. And then he also referred to salaries, I guess. What's the starting salary for patrolmen?
It depends. While they're in the academy, they're at 60% of a top patrolman salary, or a full patrolman. It starts around 42,000 would be the full amount, but they start at 60%, then go to 75%, and then.
Okay. You mean until they're a full-fledged officer?
Well, then they have steps for the next 4 years till they're at a top patrolman.
Oh, which is the 44,000.
No, that would be higher. The first year patrolman is 42,000, but if they go to the academy, while they're in the academy, they earn 60% of that. Then when they graduate from the academy, they are at 75%, and at their first year, that would be the full starting.
Because of things like longevity pay, which are
Right.
unusual, it's difficult because someone's base salary doesn't include overtime, doesn't include longevity. There's, you know, we did, you know, I mean, we're not a wealthy city, but we did a total cost of compensation to the city of the 100 most expensive employees that the city employs, 97 are police or fire. So in terms of anyone making money in the city, predominantly the people making the most money are public safety employees. So to the extent we have resources, that's where those resources are invested.
Okay, thanks. Is Mooney, the man who called in about the police, is he an employee of the city or a former employee, or?
I don't know who that gentleman is.
Okay. Yeah, thanks. The multimodal grant, that total that you applied for, 1.6 some million, does that reflect the new estimate of the total cost of the project?
Yes.
Okay.
And and technically we haven't applied yet. The council just authorized us to make application,
Right.
but that's the engineer's estimate of the cost.
So that would, so you're applying for the entire amount? And
Yes.
you would add 10% to that?
Well, no, actually, we'll, of the amount, 10% would be local match. That's the engineers, they're not gonna give us more than the grant award, so the actual award would be the 1.7 roughly minus roughly 170,000.
Oh, okay. So 10% more
Yeah.
than the amount you asked for is what the cost is. And how, this is a CDBG question, I guess. How much money is in the COVID-19, the new COVID-19 economic recovery project? I guess is in one of the resolutions.
Yeah, that would be G.
That's just an amendment bill to the CDBG. That was part of the allocation that we did for small business loans. So
Okay.
whatever
Is that just like a name change basically for the fund that will?
Ken, do you want to tell
Well,
them what the
let me-
change was on that?
It's changing what was thought to be a loan program to a grant program, because as we looked at this one, the business need the financial support. A grant is far more supportive than a loan that they have to pay back. The other aspect is as I talked to our CDBG staff, administering loans means you have to set up loan schedules. If they miss a payment, you have to go through a whole process of collections. I think it's closer to the spirit of the money to try to give grants to businesses and create an influx of cash. And then it saves us money administratively, because then we're not managing a kind of a clumsy, difficult to manage loan program. I mean, we're not really set up to be a bank.
Bill, it was for 200,000.
200,000, okay. Thank you. That's all I have, thanks.
Meeting is adjourned.